Hello YouTube, Civilian Snowman here, joined by a special guest, DVD Weasel. How cool is this? At this point you will have already seen, if you subscribe to DVD Weasel, which you should be, link down there, go subscribe. He came to visit me because they were showing Breathless, the Jean-Luc Godard movie, at an art house theatre where I live. And it's one of Liam's favourite films, so he was like bombed down to see it. And we also went to see the movie which we're going to review in this video, Christopher Nolan's Inception. Now, this is a movie that is obviously just a mammoth of a movie. Everybody's, talking about it at the moment, and it's, let's review the shit out of it. Yep. We're going to try and avoid the plot, because it is one of those movies, the less you know going in, the more you're going to enjoy. Yeah. Basic outline, so you've got a bit of context for what we're going to be talking about, is Leonardo DiCaprio plays what's called an extractor called Cobb. His job is to go into people's dreams and extract information. He's given a fucking new job by Ken Watanabe, I think. We've probably just butchered his name, but the fella from The Last Samurai, he's basically given a job to go into Cillian Murphy's head and plant an idea, which is something that, is supposed to be impossible in this universe, but basically Leonardo DiCaprio is like, no, I'm the best in the world, I can do it. So he assembles a team comprising of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page, Tom Hardy, and the psychic from Drag Me to Hell, whose name I don't know, and yeah, they basically go into Cillian Murphy's head to plant an idea, so that's like the general plot. So let's just say right off the bat, like, how did you feel about Inception, Liam?
Before I saw it?
Before you saw it and your reaction to it.
Right, before I saw it, I was, before the reviews started coming out, I was anticipating it, but not to as huge of a degree as you were, because I think I've said before, I don't love The Dark Knight as much as everybody else does, and it's probably sacrilege to Jack.
It hurts so bad.
Yeah, but I did think before this, because I'd only seen really The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, and Memento of Nolan's films, but I did think Memento was my favourite. And yeah, after seeing it, Inception is my favourite.
Of Nolan's movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, literally as the credits rolled, Liam turned to me and he was like, holy fucking shit. Like, it blew us both away. I mean, I'm going to say I was anticipating it. Not massively, but I was, because I love The Dark Knight, as you all know. Even though that's a film I never reviewed on YouTube, because millions of people have reviewed it and there would be no point. I love it, end of. I was looking forward to Inception, but I was thinking, can it really be as good as The Dark Knight? Is he going to live up to The Dark Knight and shit? So I was a little bit more reserved with it. Really enjoyed it. Best film of the year so far. As far as Nolan's movies go, I think his best is The Prestige, then The Dark Knight, then probably Memento, then Inception. Memento and Inception are kind of tied for me. But that doesn't mean I don't love it, because I do. It's an amazing film, and it's what I think is quite refreshing about it. When I was sat there, what sprung to mind was the fact that it's a big summer studio blockbuster, which isn't a remake, it isn't a reboot, it's not based on some obscure Japanese anime, it's not a fucking play that was turned into a film, so it's a completely original thing. It's beautiful to look at. Like, what I found really refreshing is, obviously it's kind of like a sci-fi action movie, but it's shot like in the same way he shoots The Dark Knight. It's got that kind of Michael Mann realistic gangstery edge with, the blue tinge and the wide lenses and all that. But you've got that, it's shot that way, and then you've got these fantastic things happening, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt floating through a hotel, and you completely buy it, because it's shot in such a realistic way, you just buy what's happening on screen. And it's, people have said, I've read in reviews and heard on YouTube, that you have to suspend your disbelief in order to enjoy it. I didn't have to, because I had no disbelief to dispel. I was completely into it from the beginning.
It's the way it handles all the stuff that obviously wouldn't happen in real life. It feels like it could.
Yeah.
Like the way, obviously we know we're not stupid, it couldn't, but the way, it's done so realistically, and the practical effects are so brilliant that you just believe that it could actually happen.
I mean, that's another thing that's really good, is the practical effects. Nolan's a fan of practical effects, obviously, and if anybody's curious about Nolan, just a quick side note, I'll link you to the first part of Sam the Lucha Media Geek here on YouTube, a good friend of both of ours. He did a Nolan retrospective series of videos, which is a brilliant series of videos. I watched them this morning, actually, and they're really good, so go check those out. Basically, Nolan will always use practical over CG if he can. There's a scene in this that takes place, it's like a fortress, a snowy fortress kind of thing, and they blow it up, and some of it's model work, but they actually built the fortress to film in and then blew up the building. Like, most of it's not models or CG, it's an actual building blowing up, and it's got that old-fashioned magical why we go to the movies feel to it, right? Really. You know, imagine the first time you watched Jurassic Park and you saw the dinosaurs walking around. It's that kind of awe-inspiring feeling to this film, and it's like, I tweeted after we'd seen it and basically said it's a masterpiece that reminds us why we love movies, and I still think that it does remind us why we fell in love with movies. I mean, you know, for me, I fell in love with movies because storytelling I find infinitely fascinating, and just that element of magic and escapism and taking somebody someplace, it sounds a bit dodgy, taking somebody somewhere they've never been before and showing them unbelievable things, you know, not like Pinhead in Hellraiser, because that's like the bad version, but you know, just showing, like when he says we have such sights to show you, I feel that's what Nolan's doing. He's essentially kind of taken us by the hand and been like, I'm going to tell you a good story for 2 hours, and it's just that old-fashioned storytelling. What I think we should address is the fact that a lot of reviews have referred to this as a Kubrickian masterpiece. I mean, if you want to take the reins and explain what you thought in that context, I mean, comparing him to a director like Kubrick.
I think that Nolan, as much as I don't like absolutely adore the film that he's most talked about for, I think he is basically a modern day Kubrick, because this film, I can't think of, much like a Kubrick film, I can't really think of any plot holes whatsoever. I think everything is backed up. He's been working on it for 8 or 10 years or something, and he's really thought the story out, and the story is just basically flawless.
That's another thing that I was talking to Liam about on the bus after seeing the film, is that every little detail, like there's a shot in the trailer of the spinning top that Tarantino, that Leonardo DiCaprio is playing with, and I thought, like, is that just a cool little visual thing, you know, to basically tip the hat to the movie, so to speak. It's actually integral to the plot. Like, every little cool detail that you think is there just for being cool actually has a purpose, and an important one at that. Like, that spinning top is literally integral to the plot, you know, and I think that's what Nolan does really well. Nothing's unnecessary. Like, you couldn't cut anything from this movie. It's literally, Sam in his videos refers to Nolan's movies as a three-course dinner. They really are. Like, there's everything. Nolan manages to basically take the Kubrickian or Paul Thomas Anderson style message movie, bring it to the mainstream and blow shit up. Yeah. And it's not often. I think he's like the only guy doing that at the moment. I mean, you could argue Tarantino, but even he's not as action orientated. No. You know, I mean, Inglourious Bastards nearly got away with it, but
that does have one of my favourite action scenes of the last few years, though, the whole cinema bit at the end.
That is fantastic. Yeah. But Nolan, seriously, he's a master. We are privileged to be living in a time where there is such a master filmmaker working. I literally feel like that now. Christopher Nolan, I'm not just licking his arse either, because, you know, I do love The Dark Knight, but, you know, some films like Following and Insomnia I appreciate, but they're not, I don't think they're amazing, you know, so I'm not just licking Nolan's arse. I think that Inception is a masterpiece, best film of the year, not his best film, but it's brilliant. And to be honest, I could sit here for 4 hours and talk about how amazing it is, but I think we should just sum up our thoughts. Yeah. For me, if you haven't seen it, why not? What's wrong with you? Go and see it right now. You'll love it. It's brilliant.